This might be the low-key most important basic principle I've presented thus far. I'm talking about civil awareness. This is probably a new term that, as far as I know, I invented. This being the case, I'll take some time to explain to you what it means and how it is important. Some basics first. Because my channel is in English, the vast majority of my viewers would be living in a country from the Western world. Now, people who live in Western systems have an advantage over people who don't. We, in principle, have the options of electing both people who rule over us and, in case we disagree with the end results of their actions, have the possibility of either creating petitions, gathering to protest, or electing new representatives to cancel the effects of legislation any of us disagree with. This used to not be the case. If you look at human history, this is a new, and until the second half of the 20th century, a rare situation to find yourself in. Monarchs, warlords, dictators, these are most rulers throughout history. Disagree with them and you face exile, persecution, forced conscription, imprisonment, or execution. For the first century in human history, there's a large portion of the world in which you have the option to understand and influence the actions of the ruling class and, in the end, have a word in the treatment you can be subjected to. This is where the origin of civil awareness comes from. You have the option, right now, to find which institutions are authorities in regulation of various segments of the public sector. You can document yourself on what their actions are, how they have enacted them, what results followed. The last part is the most important one for the topic at hand. You have the option of learning what happened when someone tried to use a certain method to solve a problem. If it's not effective or for some reason it couldn't work, either because the wrong cause has been attributed to the problem or it's not logistically possible for the solution to be enforced, then you know you shouldn't support it. Maybe you will even tell others who you know would support that measure how it doesn't work. There is a more important aspect to civil awareness that I want to highlight. It wouldn't be a controversial statement to say that many, if not most governments, even in the before-mentioned West, have a problem with corruption. That's because any demographic contains two types of people who facilitate this. People who are willing to ignore the rules or to look away if offered things they desire and thus they offer another person an advantage. And people who desire power and influence, therefore they are willing to find and offer to those in the first group money or what else they want in return for a pass. People from the second group are sometimes also part of the first, in order to progress in their goal. Also, these corrupt people would be most vested in gaining public office and influence the rules of the land, because if you want the law to advantage you, being the one who decides it would be a very convenient situation to be in. If people from the groups I described gain power, it's easier for corruption to thrive. Now let's imagine that we reached a stage in the corruption of a country's representatives where the corrupt and corruptible can influence laws. Given this, even if they will try to remain hidden or innocuous, these people will seek advantages for themselves as they planned either from the start or from some point along the way. Maybe pass legislation or orders to be more lenient to businesses they operate in. Maybe they manipulate election stages or results. Maybe make it harder to protest them, or maybe simply misallocating funds for the purpose of using them for selfish reasons, like increasing their salaries because they said so, without any justification. A civically aware person would be able to see news of what politicians did either locally or nationally and conclude that there's some corruption going on behind some of their actions. The least of what a civically aware person would do is know not to trust those politicians in the future and maybe point out to others the corrupt behaviors they display. Now, this being said, I'm not saying that if you are civically aware you have to go protest and found petitions and so on. What you should do is not trust those people which further corruptions on one hand, and on the other hand, try to do what I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Learn about what problems exist in your line of work or society, find out which solutions were tried before, if they were successful, and if they weren't, how they failed. When stakes are high, it's better to not start an approach that won't work than clear out the mess after the damage is done. I hope this video helped you decide whether or not civil awareness is important. What are your thoughts? Is there something I missed? Are there any other ways in which civil awareness could be important? Did I overestimate its role? Share your thoughts below. In the meantime, follow the subliminal messages on screen. I want these ideas to reach as many people as it can, so next time as many perspectives could be considered. Remember to find more values to promote, and I welcome you to come back for any future or past videos. See you soon!